Hi! Thank you very much for turning back in. My name is Fonny. In my channel, I talk about my houseplant and my Hoyas. Today, it is another episode of Hoya Bloom series, and this Hoya, it is a very interesting Hoya when it comes to the leaf shape. None of the other Hoyas that I have and I know of has similar leaf shape. It has a very long and stiff leaf shape, and each of the leaf potentially is not leaf but peduncle. If you can guess the name of this Hoya, it is this one over here, Hoya Spartiodes. As you can see, the Hoya is very special when it comes to the leaf shape. It is actually not leaf, but each of them are all peduncle. As far as I know from Camilla, she mentioned sometime it will have leaf, but then those leaves eventually will drop off and die. So essentially all of these tips, as you can see here, these ones are peduncle. Unfortunately, the peduncle that I would like to show you has already dropped off because it has a very, very short period of flowering duration. So I will show you everything in the recording I have made throughout the time and everything I know about Hoya Spartiodes. Start off with the first part. How long does it take to flower the first peduncle? This one, I got it from LB Garden in the second or first order, which is in spring summertime. I got this one and it's so difficult to root, and I have a lot of trouble rooting it. A lot of them actually died out after maybe 1 or 2 weeks. It just didn't manage to push out the root. So when it comes to the duration I waited for, I think it would be around 3 months. It's not extremely long. I'm really happy to see that only within 3 months time I managed to see this one bloom. But it's not an easy journey for me to bring this back to life. So I think for Spartiodes, if you manage to get one locally which is rooted, get it, because it is very difficult to root it without any existing root. So for the second part, the Peduncle Formation, I have recorded all of the information that I know throughout the 4 weeks time, from a small tip of bud all the way until the opening of the flower. So in the first week, you can see that in the tip of the long peduncle, it started growing a little bit of a round dot in the very tip. It looks like it is peduncle because normally peduncle formed the same way, even the leaf shape is very different. And then in the second week, you can see that the bud grows slightly larger. The growth rate is relatively slow. It's not extremely fast, but it will open up without you believing it. Because on the 3.5 week, you can see that the bud looks like maybe a star shape. It's not a star like fingers star shape, but it's more like the angle. It's like a diamond shape, if that makes more sense. So that diamond shape does not take very long to open up. At the time when I thought it will still take 1 more week to open up, it just suddenly opened up during the night. And I can show you in the video here, it's just 1 day before this shape until it opened up. It's just very, very special when it comes to the timing of the peduncle opening. Then let's move on to the flower shape. This is the first time for me seeing the flower of Spartiodes. The flower size is much smaller than I thought because the bud is very, very small just before this one is opened. Which I thought it's going to wait until maybe next week, then it will start opening. But it opened when the bud has just a very small size. And as you see, this one here, it is a 2-bud flower, and this entire thing is the peduncle, even though it looks like a leaf. And if you look in the
bottom here, it has very, very short and thin pedicel hanged on the tip of the peduncle or spur. And you can see that this is the first time it flowered. That's why the spur is very, very small or short. But the spur will grow just like other Hoya flower. And you see that the flower shape is yellow and it's very, very star shape. Let me try to focus. And you see that the flower itself is very, very small. It's, I think, around 5 millimeter wide for each of the flower bud. And yeah, as you can see, flowers are very, very small. And because it has strong light above, that's why you can see the right hand side of the corolla is sun stressed. The corona is super small as well. Just have a comparison with my thumbnail. They're very tiny.
I hope you enjoy the close-up of the flower shape. Then for the scent of the flower, the floral scent is not at all observable. I would say I can't really smell anything from the flower, but if you have a different experience, please leave your comment down below so then I can learn a little bit more and hopefully expect some specific scent. Yeah, so for the 2 times I have this one flowered, I didn't really smell anything from the flower. Then move on to the flowering duration. As I mentioned very early on, this is an extremely short blooming species. It only lasted for 1 day. So by the time I see the flower opened during the night, it almost closed halfway after 1 night, and then it closed in the second night. It took maybe around 3 days for the bud to drop off, but ever since it closed, it never reopened again. So that means that if you want to see this flower, you really have to pay attention of that diamond shape that I showed you. At the time when the shape turned into that diamond shape, it's really, really close for it to open up, and you have to pay attention very, very closely because it doesn't give you a long time to wait. Then we move on to the Peduncle Nature. I'm very happy to tell you that in the same peduncle that I have, it actually rebudded. So it is a rebuddable Hoya in my experience. So you will eventually have a lot of flower, but it just takes time for it to grow. First, it takes chance to grow roots. Second, it takes time to grow the peduncle out. It is a relatively slow growing Hoya. And thirdly, it takes patience for you to wait for the peduncle to slowly bud up. And fourthly, it takes attention to look for the flower from opening. And with regard to the care tips, I have to say I'm not an expert for sure of Hoya Spartiodes, because if I am, I will not struggle as much when it comes to caring for this Hoya. But all I can tell is the stem, as you see here, is wooden type of stem, which means it does not like to be overwatered. And at the same time, it needs enough humidity in the soil substrate so then it could encourage the root growth. So you have to be very careful when it comes to the watering in the very beginning, at least at the time when there's no root to begin with. So try not to have too moist of a substrate, because that will definitely encourage the rotting of the root or the stem itself. And after you see root growing, you can then start with this water reservoir. I always have this water reservoir, but the reason why I have it is because you can see there is already roots growing into the water reservoir. So I'm not concerned about over-watering if I put water in the water reservoir. But the most important tip that I can give you is to be very careful in the watering because of the wooden stem nature, and also the growth pattern is just one direction. You can't really expect to have an offshoot on the side, but it's just one growth point per cutting. So the chance of it die off, it's relatively high because you can't really look for a side shoot that come off. And with regard to the light, I would not suggest to give it too strong of a light because you can see that these ones, it looks burnt. It looks kind of unpleasant if you ask me, to be honest. These ones are because I gave a very high light condition to it. So then it just turned to very patchy type of sun stressing. It's not very pretty if it comes to the patchiness. So be careful of the light. It needs bright light, but not over blasting of grow light. And with regard to the temperature, I placed it in the milk cabinet only, and it's between 19 to 31 Celsius degree now in autumn time. So I would say maybe temperature is not as important, because I also saw this one in Camilla's greenhouse outside. I know that in Sweden the night could be a bit more chill, maybe 15, 14 Celsius degree, and her plants still grow really, really well. So I don't think the heat or the coldness is the major factor. For me, I think it is the watering. All right, this is everything I know about Hoya Spartiodes. If you have any questions with regard to the care tips, I can try to answer you based on my limited experience in the past 4 months. And if you have experience with Spartiodes, particularly how to encourage it grow and what are the parts that you think that we need to pay attention to, please be generous enough to leave your experience in the comment below so we can learn from each other. If you like this type of video and you would like to encourage me to produce similar content, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet and you don't want to miss out content similar to this one or any other content that I made for my houseplant, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, I wish everyone is having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!